Welcome to the Revival Health Channel. My name is Doug Woods. I'm a scientific researcher and writer focused on health and vitality. Now, what I'm trying to achieve with this channel is to provide you with concrete advice in terms of how to adjust your daily routine for lifelong health and vitality. The topics we're going to be covering on this channel are nutrition, movement, and mind. In terms of nutrition, I'm obviously referring to our diet and what we eat, but I'm also talking about our eating patterns, which is when and why we eat. Movement, that's about all physical activity. So not just exercise or vigorous physical activity, but basically how we use or don't use our body over the entire course of the day. And then finally, with mind, I'm referring to our mental health and vitality. So we're going to be looking at topics such as sleep, our social networks and interactions, as well as how we optimize and deal with chronic stress. And again, the macro objective is to provide you with advice on those topics. I also have 3 complementary objectives for this channel. Now, the first one is to do the heavy lifting for you in terms of all the science and all the research on these topics. Now, that's really difficult to do, right? Because there's so much information out there. There's so many different opinions, different perspectives, different voices, often saying completely different things. And so I'm the type of person, what I do is I need to dive into it, right? So I spent the last 2 years researching this stuff. I've read literally hundreds of scientific papers and studies. And so I can offer that to you, having done that legwork to then summarize it and bring the relevant conclusions and recommendations for you. Tied to that, another objective I have is to actually bring you the science, right? Now, the challenge here is that unless you do this stuff for a living, right? Like the typical scientific paper, it's incomprehensible, right? Like it uses so much jargon and technical terminology that, again, unless you do it for a living, it's just impossible to understand, right? So, but I don't want you to just take my word for it that I've, gotten into the science. I want to share it with you. So my objective is to bring it to you, but to bring it to you in a way which is much clearer, much more objective, and much more easier to understand than it's typically laid out in these papers, right? So the idea is to use analogies, to use stories, to use narratives, to bring that science true to its findings, but in a way which is much easier to understand. And my final objective is simply to have fun, right? So I'm going to try to make the videos as light and dynamic and enjoyable as possible, put some humor in whenever the topic allows for that, because despite the fact that I want to cover the science and get deep into the content, I also am hoping that you actually want to watch the videos, right? So that's my final objective, is to have fun. I also have 3 promises that I'd like to make to you. Now, the first one I refer to as intellectual integrity, or simply put, honesty, right? And that's my acknowledgement that these fields of nutrition, of movement and physical activity, or mental health and well-being, they are incredibly complex topics in which the science is always evolving, right? So while there are many topics in which there is strong scientific consensus, there are at least as many where there's not, and it's still very much an open debate. Now, that said, what you notice is that much of what is brought to the public, it's communicated as if it were an absolute truth, or based on just 1 or 2 studies, as opposed to the entire body of work on that topic. So my promises to you is that I'm going to try to research as deeply as possible, and I'm going to arrive at conclusions based on my research, but I'm also going to admit if I find out that I was wrong, and I'm also going to tell you when I don't know, because there are so many topics I haven't been able to go on deep on all of them. Now, what I will tell you is that I'm very confident in my recommendations, right? So, there may be a scientific detail that is not completely accurate or is still very contentious, but in terms of my recommendations and what I actually suggest that you do, I'm very confident that it'll have a positive impact on your health and on your vitality, okay? So that's my first promise. The next one is that I have no conflicts of interest. I'm essentially doing this of my own initiative, of my own accord. I don't work for any companies in this space, and certainly no one is paying me to bring you the Revival Health platform. This is just something of deep personal interest and passion. And the more I got into the research, the more potential I saw to bring the knowledge and the recommendations to a broader public. And that's my motivation. My motivation is to hopefully help you shape your routine and your lifestyle to have a healthier, stronger, fitter life. My third and final promise to you is walk the talk. There are no recommendations on the Revival Health platform that I haven't already tested on myself and or incorporated into my lifestyle. I mean, if I don't believe it enough to do it, then I certainly shouldn't be recommending it to anyone else. And actually, one of my next videos will be showing my typical day and how I'm doing my very best to live the Revival Health platform, because I truly believe in its potential to provide lifelong health and vitality, right? So walk the talk. Good. And with that, we've covered the objectives and my personal promises with respect to the Revival Health platform. Check out the videos in the introductory series. Those will actually step through the content and the foundational pillars underlying the Revival Health platform, as well as a summary of the overall set of recommendations. Okay? Hope you enjoy the content. Hope you enjoy the videos and have a great rest of your day. Cheers.